And then we come to something fairly cynical and suspicious. I mean, someone I know, they have to press their keyboard within every 5 minute period, or else they're marked as absent, AWOL.
Yes. Yeah.
So you'd better watch your digestion, or else you're going to get into trouble and get that alarm call. That is
Yeah.
pretty cynical. That is
It is.
showing a
That's horrible.
lack of trust. Big brother, big boss. It's a fairly scary time.
Well, the software can even be more with AI tools now. They can even monitor how you're feeling as you're talking to the screen. I saw that at least 6 years ago. I saw that software at work. It was actually at a CETAR event. There was a company doing a kind of a presentation, and they could read your face and they could read the basic human emotions, fear, the various feelings that
Disgust,
you have.
joy. There is are there the
There are,
seven
there are five
fundamentals.
universal ones. And I talked to the guy about it and I said, well, if you're a really good actor, could you fake it? And he said, absolutely not. He said, no actor. See, acting is a funny thing. We believe it because we suspend our disbelief, when we
I
watch
don't think
actors.
I don't think they saw the documentary on Lance Armstrong, who is a very good faker. He is a very good faker.
I'm sure he
Hi, Lance,
absolutely
if
got
you're
away.
watching.
Yeah, but it's so yeah. There's the ominous side, and I also have to write a small paper about this. I believe there's an impetus from the tech companies, and I don't mean this in a sinister way, but they have an opportunity to sell us more tech, whether
Yes,
it's more broadband, which it was Zoom. I mean, Zoom's share price had quadrupled because the guy and Zoom isn't even the best of the tools. I like it; it's a good tool, but it's extremely limited. There's a lot of problems around Zoom, not the least of which is security. And there are vested interests too around the world who, again, not looking at the sinister side, but there's a lot of data can be collected if a lot of people are online, which is the lifeblood of companies like Facebook and Google. They live on data and what they do with the data and selling it on to others. So if there's all this sudden flood of data about people doing things on screens, my God, that's a gold mine for these tech
it
companies.
is
So
fairly depressing. It is fairly
yes,
depressing, and that's before we
but
get on to China and Russia and all the rest of it.
yeah, but it's what it does is they have an interest then in making us believe this is a good thing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
even those of us who don't think it's a good thing, and again, as we said at the beginning, it's a personality thing. For those of us who don't believe it's a good thing, we're pushing against the tide because
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
there's, for want
yeah.
of a better word, marketing propaganda telling us this is great.
It's the cult. It's the cult.
Yeah,
So you would
almost.
be happier in a crowd, fine,
Yes.
but you happen to be in this situation. How can someone like you, and half the viewers will be like you, how can they make the best of it? How can they make the best of it?
Well, in the virtual environment, I mean, I think there are definitely places where working virtually and working on a screen with somebody can actually be better. I was doing some teaching to business students. It was in the classroom last year and into early this year, and then we had to go online. And there were pluses there. Like if you've got 18 French master's level business students in a classroom, and some of them are a bit bored, as some were, and they're reading their mobile phone under the desk, or they're kind of looking at the window, whatever. When they went online, that's a bit. It's hard as a trainer teacher when that happens. When they went online, the less interested ones had their cameras off. So those who were interested had their cameras on. So I suddenly was faced with 6 or 7 of this group who were cameras on, looking at me, listening intently. And I thought, oh, great, they're listening. So you get a buzz. So that was a plus. And we discovered there were good ways of getting them to do exercises. We did find, as anybody who's done training online or teaching, is that people get tired much, much more quickly, and it can be very exhausting. And that's a function. I've got a number of back-to-back calls, as I'm sure you have today now. So it can get very tiring if you've done your fourth hour of calls.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So there we are. So give us a give us a bit of hope for the future. What's the best setup for good relationships over the interweb?
Well, I have said I'm not unique in identifying that if you already have a relationship with somebody, if you've had the get together face to face, and I've always said, like a coffee or a beer in the evening, a good conversation about non-work related stuff. And again, we're interculturalists, so there's a cultural element to this too. There are some cultures where workplace, the private life comes into the workplace,
Yeah, yeah,
and there
yeah.
are those where you need to keep them separate. But I do think one thing that I think will happen is the technology will evolve hugely in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a bit
yeah.
like a war situation where technology has to move forward. So things like Zoom, we look back at the current version of Zoom in 2 or 3 years and be astonished at how awful it is, because it doesn't allow for lots of extra little functions. But I'm not pessimistic. I'm just saying we need to recognize that for some people this is not fun. And I gave a talk on this many, many years ago in Tallinn at a CHR Congress. And one of the things I used to ask the audience to start with was that, if you're a fan of working virtually, would you like to be married to somebody and have your marriage entirely virtual? Most of them laugh at the idea. And that's the extreme. Well, maybe there are some who would like that, but mostly not.
Yes, as a mediator, I could recommend some people who would go for that.
Might improve
Joke,
some people's marriages.
no, I love your idea. We're going to look back and laugh, or not. Jokers, thanks
Yes,
for that. I
yeah,
think it's been a provocative piece. Viewers, thanks for
yes.
plugging in virtually. Hopefully, this one wasn't very tiring. Your next one might be. But remember, it's about virtual pints and only videoing with people you already know in a physical sense. Or
Yeah,
not. We'll see how we go.
yes,
Mate,
yes.
good to
Okay.
see you. Thanks very
Good to
much.
see you.
Plug in next time,
Thanks
people.
very
Thanks for
much.
following. All right.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.